So take me through trade deadline day and what goes on in Toronto. For me, I was always in Ottawa, but not watching everything that was going on behind the scenes with you guys, which I know is kind of chaotic if you've got llamas and whatnot in the background.
Yeah, don't remind me of that particular day. That was silly. But, it's really funny how it's evolved. Because I can remember, I'm old enough, not so old that my memory shot, but old enough to remember when trade deadline day wasn't that big a day. It was for the NHL, I guess, but nobody covered it the way it's covered now. It used to be me going into the TSN newsroom, and this was, a couple of buildings ago. It was the building on Shepherd Avenue near Victoria Park, and it was just like a work day where you'd wait to see what would happen. And Jim Van Horn was doing updates on the half hour starting at 12 noon, and which was normal. He did that every day, but we'd be in there working, and myself and Gord Miller really. And over time, it started to get busier and busier, more and more trades. And I think it was Gord who probably first said to the people at TSN, maybe we should go on the air at 3:00 in the afternoon and wrap up all the trades that happened. And it started with probably like a half hour, an hour show at 3:00. And over time, we might as well go at 2:00. Now, lots of trades are happening before 3. And well, maybe we should go at 1:00. And next thing you know, we're there at 8 a.m. now, and it's the cast of thousands, although I'm not sure exactly what it'll look like this year because of the pandemic. But it's a chaotic, fun day. The two busiest days of the year and the 2 days of the year where I think the TSN hockey crew is at its absolute best: trade deadline day and free agent frenzy. And they're both very similar. The studio is just teeming with people, and there's lots and lots and lots of news out there. Less now on the trade deadline, maybe this year than ever, but that's what it's all about.
Going into trade deadline day, I want to say, is it a week in advance or so that you're on the phone constantly? I know you're always working the phones, but is there a certain ramp up period? Because I know there has been chatter in the past where guys know perhaps beforehand that there's going to be some moves of certain players before deadline drops.
I think for me, and I'm not going to use this as an example, don't tell Dregs or Pierre or Frank, but my preparation is going to start the moment I walk in there. But normally when we were full up, I always believed if you were going to have a successful trade deadline day, you had to start ramping it up more than a month before. And you had to start, you always talk to a lot of people anyways, but you feel a little squeamish sometimes picking up the phone on trade deadline day, trying to get some information from somebody you haven't talked to for 6 months. And they know what you're doing. They're not stupid. And you know what you're doing because you are stupid for not having made any calls for 6 months. But, if you, a month out, you start getting just a lot more diligence in your game. And I can see that, I'm on, we've got an TSN insider chat group, Dregs and Pierre and Frank and myself. And I've noticed, a huge uptake over the last month of the amount of information that they're trying to process. And this is a weird year, though, because of the pandemic, obviously, but also the flat cap, and how many teams are actually going to be able to make trades. And it's a weird feeling. It could be more of a deadline day than a deadline day, but we'll see.
I just wanted to chime in there on that one comment that he made. You guys, so you have a group chat with some of the other insiders like Drags and Pierre and whatnot. Do you guys actually share info? Because I thought it was pretty competitive amongst yourselves, right?
No.
You're not going to.
Exact opposite. In fact, when one of us over the years broke a story, that person that broke it might have just been the last person to touch the puck, if you want to use a hockey analogy. It could be like a power play goal, Meth, where everybody's passing it all left, right, and center. We look like the Russian Five out there moving the puck around, and then some guy just puts in the empty net tap in, and he probably did the least amount of work, but he gets credited with the goal. And quite frankly, the entire time I've been at TSN, and especially as we've bolstered our ranks with Dregs and Pierre and Frank and everybody else who's part of the team. It's a real collaborative effort, and we share everything. So we hear something, and especially on deadline day, but every day of the year it's that way. So if I get a kernel of information, I'll make sure those guys know about it, because then they can go to work on digging. And one of them will come up and say, okay, I've pushed the peanut along here a little bit. Here's a little bit more information. And then somebody else will take that. And next thing you know, all 4 or 5 guys have collaborated. And the guy, and if you get the news and you're the guy who's absolutely got it dead to rights, you don't waste a lot of time going back to the first person who started it and said, oh, here, you should get credit for this. It's just bombs away. And we're all fine with that. It doesn't matter. We don't care. We're a team, and you just want to do the best job possible.
And one of those things is, and it also starts, I'll say, if the reporter ranks, because I went through it, and we'll see something small. And we've always been reminded, guys, even if you see something small, just send it into the boys, and we'll always include everybody on the email. And so it could start as easy as, we just saw someone leave the rink with a boot on their foot or whatever it is, and then let them go chat and talk to the GMs and stuff. So
it's really a teamwork and a huge network, and guys like Wally and Ryan Rashog and Farhan and Jermaine when he was in Calgary, and Sarah Orleski in Winnipeg, Johnny Liu in Montreal, all across the board, Mark Masters in Toronto, everybody, all the TSN reporters, and obviously when you've got a whole studio full of guys like Noodles and O-Dog and Dave Poulin and everybody who's got various connections, and it'd be the same at the other network as well. They've got all the same moving pieces, and so everybody's trying to pitch in and get as much information as you can.